chose Marika to become an Empyrean, a candidate who could be elevated to godhood and serve as a vessel for the Elden Ring. As an Empyrean, the Two Fingers bestowed a shadow-bound beast called Marika to protect and serve her, also known as a shadow. It is a wolf creature incapable of treachery. However, if their masters resist the will of the Fingers, the shadow will become a curse for their Empyrean. Desiring a world free of so-called destined death, Marika removed the rune of death from the Elden Ring and had her shadow Malekith guard it. Destined death and the rune of death are the same thing. Doing this removed the concept of death from the lands between, while also giving her the power to deliver death through her shadow. When you are defeated in battle, you awaken at a nearby site of grace, or stake of Marika. Almost everyone has been alive for a really long time. This is why many enemies look like zombie knights, and why some people wander around aimlessly or dig at the ground as if they lost their mind. They've been alive for so long, their intellect has failed them. Whenever something dies in the lands between, it is not really dead, but rather its soul returns to the Erdtree. This explains the ghosts floating around Fortissax, a massive dragon with multiple heads, ruled the lands as Dragon Lord for his god who later fled. The dragons then sat in slumber, awaiting their god's return, leaving the lands between without a ruler. The war began when a great dragon named Gransax attacked the capital city, Leyndell. This was the only known time that Leyndell's walls had fallen. It is not clear why Gransax first attacked, but the Knights of the Erdtree defended the city and defeated Gransax. However, this was only the beginning of the war against the dragons. During battle, Godwyn the Golden defeated Fortissax, the mightiest dragon of them all, but he did not kill Fortissax. Instead, he befriended him. Due to this unlikely friendship, an ancient dragon cult began in the capital city, and the Knights of Leyndell learned to worship the dragons and wield their lightning. It was officially decided that the worship of the ancient dragons did not conflict with worshipping the Erdtree. Morgoth and Moog, however, were born Omen children. Omens are strange, powerful, but considered cursed beings, with horns growing all over their bodies. The Golden Order shunned the Omens, dealing with them by cutting off their horns, a procedure that usually killed them. Although royal Omen children were not treated quite so badly, instead they would be sent underground to live in the jails and sewers beneath the capital, imprisoned there forever. It is said that Omens are not able to return to the Erdtree for rebirth, and were born outside of its grace. One theory for the shunning of Omens is that because they are related to the Crucible. In this case, horns, knots, feathers, and scales once grew These knights were a match even for Radagon's golden army. The Lucaria Academy in Liurnia is where sorcerers trained using powers derived from the cosmos. The Carian Knights were anointed by Renala, Queen of the Full Moon. She was a powerful young sorcerer who charmed the Academy with her lunar magic, soon becoming its master. She went on to establish the House of Caria as royalty in Liurnia. After 2 wars, there was no winner. Radagon and his forces found they could not defeat the Carian soldiers or the sorcerers of Liurnia. Then, one day, when he met Queen Renala on the battlefield, the two fell in love. Radagon repented his territorial aggressions by cleansing himself with celestial dew and swore his love to Renala. They married at the Church of Vows, uniting the House of the Erdtree and the House of the Moon. The Greater Will seemingly did not oppose this marriage. As we know, while it requires order, it does not appear to be strict about how order is achieved. Renala gifted Radagon with a great sword as part of tradition. They had 3 children, Radan, Rani, and Rykard. Radan took after his father, who he considered to be a great champion. He also looked up to Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Radan learned to use gravitational magic by an Alabaster Lord, a member of an ancient race with skin of stone. With this magic, Radan was able to continue riding his weak horse that he was emotionally attached to. When his lessons were complete, Radan said, "Thank you for your tutelage. Now I can challenge the stars." And he did indeed defeat the stars, and the constellations were halted by his strength. His reason for doing this is not clear, but War Counselor E.G. said, "The fate of the Carian royal family is guided by the stars, as is the fate of Lady Rani, first heir in the Carian royal line. But General Radan is the conqueror of the stars, who stood up to the swirling constellations, halting their movement in a smashing victory. And so, if General Radan were defeated, the stars would once again resume their movement, as with Lady Rani's destiny. So we know that Radan's actions had consequences for the Carian royal family. It seems that he had more loyalty to the Erdtree than to the moon, possibly due to his idol Godfrey. saw was a cold, dark moon, the opposite of Renala's full moon. Another who guided Rani was the snowy crone, who she met deep in the woods. She became Rani's secret mentor, and even knew about the dark moon, telling Rani she should fear it. Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, seemed to get on well with his siblings. He was described as stern, ambitious, and blasphemous. Part of this blasphemy was due to him opposing the Erdtree, which actually drew many loyal knights to him. Many believed he would usher in a new age. Rykard discovered an ancient religion within Mount Gelmir, where he came across the immortal Great Serpent, a traitor to the Erdtree, but a god that aligned with Rykard's ambition. Rykard fed himself to the Great Serpent so that he might merge with it, use its power, and live eternally. After this, his ambition degraded into depravity. He devoured his greatest champions, and in the bowels of the serpent, they became the Lord's family. Disturbed by what had become of their master, Rykard's army abandoned him. Some tried searching for a weapon capable of killing their lord. Eventually, they found the Serpent Hunter, an enchanted spear. However, all attempts to kill him failed. The spear was left in Rykard's chambers, with hopes a worthy champion would one day use it. With her rule now secure, Marika announced her intention to search the depths of the Golden Water, declaring the early days of blind belief a thing of the past, suggesting she began to have doubts about her Golden Water. When Godfrey's last foe fell, it was said the hue of his eyes had faded, possibly meaning he had served his purpose and was no longer needed. He had run out of people to conquer and lost his grace. Marika banished him, his descendants, and his warriors from the lands between, thus creating the First Tarnished. This was in hope that they would grow stronger by waging war in lands outside her rule, dying, being revived, and eventually brought back to where Marika would return their grace. Grace is a blessing given to people throughout the lands between by the Elden Ring, symbolizing its presence. This blessing is represented by a golden light in the eyes of the inhabitants of the lands between. Those who had grace bestowed on them, but later lost it, are known as the Tarnished. As Godfrey and his men left, this became known said that when Radagon left, Renala's heart left with him. Realizing their heartbroken queen was no champion at all, the Academy rebelled against the Carian royal family in a civil war. Renala found herself attacked by her own students, who eventually locked her away in the Grand Library. She slowly lost her mind and ended up devoting herself to the grim art of reincarnation, clutching the amber egg left to her by Radagon. Marika and Radagon had two demigod children together, twins Liurnia and Michaela, who were chosen to be Empyreans, along with Rani, as potential successors to Marika. However, they were both born afflicted. Liurnia had a sickness called the Scarlet Rot, while Michaela was cursed with eternal childhood. Liurnia's Scarlet Rot is actually an outer god. This outer god, like others, has an order that can be imposed on the world via an Empyrean vessel. Liurnia was that vessel, although probably not a willing one. The Scarlet Rot has no cure, with the ability to eat away at limbs and affect the brain, but through sheer will and sense of self, she is able to resist the rot. Legend states a blind swordsman sealed away an ancient god in stagnant water. This god was rot itself. Wherever rot appears, the servants of rot appear as well. These servants have been forsaken by Liurnia, who is their new goddess. This blind swordsman became Liurnia's mentor. It is said that when the young girl encountered her mentor and his flowing blade, she gained wings of unparalleled strength. Liurnia is known as the Blade of Michaela. Despite being one of the strongest demigods, she actually fights for his right to godhood, not her own. In Liurnia's words, her brother Michaela possesses the wisdom, the allure of a god. He is the most fearsome Empyrean of all. Once a Golden Order fundamentalist, Michaela abandoned those beliefs, as they did nothing to help his sister's sickness. He spent a lot of effort towards creating an unalloyed or pure gold needle. This needle response, Marika bound the blade within his flesh to ensure it could not happen again. But it was too late. Rani used the stolen fragment to forge god-slaying black knives used to kill Queen Marika's son, Godwyn the Golden. Some theories say Marika was behind the plot to have a fragment of the Rune of Death stolen. For example, the Black Knife assassins were Numen women purported to have had close ties to Marika. This was the first known death of a demigod. Marika might have been betrayed, as she is said to have been devastated. The weapon was made to kill gods, so a single demigod seems like a mismatch. A grieving Marika then shattered the Elden Ring, spreading the pieces across the lands, some big and some small. The largest shattered pieces are known as the Great Runes. Marika encouraged her children to be what they want to be, but keep away from stagnation, suggesting that she wished to keep the Elden Ring broken. Radagon attempted to repair it, but failed. Miriel, the Pastor of Vows, tells us that Radagon had a secret. In a plot twist, it is suggested that Radagon is Marika, or at least he became her, or fused with her after the Shattering, and Marika knew this would happen. One of the finger readers said, "The demigods are all direct offspring of Marika," which could mean that Radagon was always part of Marika. He was described as Marika's male other self. Marika was imprisoned in the Erdtree for her crime of shattering the Elden Ring. Her body is seen shattered and crumbling because she bears the Elden Ring's power within her as its vessel. Even then, she remained a god and vessel for the greater will. Many tried to take the shattered pieces. The Great Runes were claimed by the 6 demigod children, causing them to inherit different powers. A massive civil war ensued, called the Shattering, in which they attempted to take all the Great Runes for themselves, and subsequently the throne. With the Elden Ring destroyed, the Golden Order started to crumble, and a power vacuum was created. destroying both armies. Radon was so badly infected that he lost his mind. Liurnia had channeled the power of the rot within her in order to match Radon's strength, and in doing so lost a lot of her will and sense of self. After that, the wars of the Shattering died down somewhat, leaving the lands between in ruins, with the demigods unable to beat each other, or perhaps unwilling to risk being beaten. They retreated to their fortresses with their great runes. Since nobody can die, nobody can win and restore order. That's where the Tarnished come in, who finally return from their long march to try and claim the throne. As a Tarnished, that is your apparent goal throughout the game, to become an Elden Lord. Called back to the lands between by some strange force, the Tarnished find themselves guided by grace, a big golden light only they can see. It encourages the Tarnished to hunt down the demigods and claim their greater runes, so they can repair the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord. Basically, since the demigods are unable to do the job, it is being outsourced to random warriors. The grace seems to be subordinate to the Two Fingers, and thus the Greater Will. While the Greater Will has dominated for eons, other outer gods also exist, and their followers are also competing for control. On your journey, you meet other Tarnished who have tried and failed. Many of them have been trying for so long that their ability to see grace has faded away. Eventually, a Tarnished champion, that's you, manages to fight their way into the Erdtree, where Marika is imprisoned. Marika is suddenly released from her bonds. Radagon takes control of their shared body and confronts the Tarnished. After defeating Radagon, the Elden Beast appears, which you must defeat as well. You finally defeat the Elden Beast, slaying a god. At that moment, you can choose to repair the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord, beginning what will be known as the Age of Fracture. This ending seems to accomplish what the Greater Will wishes. You mend the Elden Ring and restore order to the lands between, with a grumbling Marika still imprisoned. There are 5 other possible